Hello, everybody. This is the CT Sports Talent Show. My name is Christopher Saunders, and I'm pleased to have on the head coach of the Northwest United Co-op program. A whole bunch of towns, a couple schools squeezed in there. Jenn Garzone is with me. Jenn, congratulations, 5-0. You're on the bye week. How does it feel? Because now this is the second year in a row, if I recall, that I've had you on, and you've been undefeated.
Yeah, it feels pretty good. It's even better knowing that we're getting some rest and recovery this week. It's the last 5 weeks have been pretty pretty busy.
I could imagine. And you and I were just talking about some of the alliance games that you were saying how some of the tech teams are in the alliance and they're playing and such. And I know the most recent game you played against Stratford was a very competitive game. I actually saw the younger brother, who I used to call his basketball games, Chung, I think it was, made a very nice defensive play to help seal the win for you guys. And I saw the sidelines; it was nuts, and that was really cool to see. Being a part of that atmosphere, do you feel like, again, I know it's early, but you start thinking about potential playoff spots and whatnot, as long as you take care of business, that kind of game is a playoff kind of atmosphere kind of game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the major reasons why I decided to uh, put us in the alliance scheduling from this past season was to be able to see more competition, play schools outside of our conference. There's different varieties of offense in football, different defenses, and being able to see that experience, as well as have to. We had to travel for both of them, so that was a barrier in itself. Was definitely a great it was a great night, but it's going to pay dividends in the long run. I mean, if you want to be better, you got to play better, and you've got to be able to rise up to the level of competition that's out there.
How was it as far as the focus of the players? Because like you had to go to East Lyme, you had to go to Stratford, right? And they're not short bus rides by any means. So what was it like as far as with the kids as they were kind of preparing for that and having to go? Because it's not like, you're going right down to Watertown or playing a Waterbury school. It's a little bit farther in the ECC and such, and where Stratford plays in their conference as well.
Right. Luckily for us, I mean, we're used to long travel in our conference traditionally, so we were hoping like, hey, we might get like a closer road game. But that didn't pan out. So not we're not it's not unknown to us to have to travel within, like anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours if you're on a bus.
Mhm.
Uh, so having had to do that previously, I know probably helped a lot in preparation, because it's not a new thing to be on a long bus ride. But the other part of that is, understanding that I mean, Friday Night Lights is a beautiful thing in high school football. And we've played in some venues where there's, just a few fans and some where there's a few dozen, but getting to, go down and have to play with, a few hundred people there, that it's incredible. But it's also experience building, because that's not something that you're going to be shocked at when you do get down to those tougher games. I kind of equate it to like basketball. They make you play in a facility that can seat at least 500 people,
Mhm.
right? So if you play coaching at Wilka Tech, our gym is still the old school gym that can fit maybe 200 people on the old school bleachers. You got to pull in and out. So when it came time for tournament time and we were in a big gym, it's a lot different. It's environment, atmosphere, all that does play a role in some way, shape, or form. So getting to do that early on in the season, a lot of fun, a lot of fun.
Well, like you mentioned with basketball, it's almost like, being like the stands, right? You think about every layer, or even baseball in the minor leagues, every level that you go up, there's an extra pair of stands or an extra group of stands level wise. And you're trying to judge it as far as with the, if you're in the outfield, trying to see where it is in front of the sun, out of the sun, etc. But I think that's a great point as far as the basketball side, because there is an adjustment going to a bigger gym, having to deal with that. In football, it is a little bit different, but in terms of being able to fit people, obviously the atmosphere, the travel, I mean, I've always believed, especially since I've been really following the Alliance, it can, depending on, again, where your program is and kind of the opponent that you're playing, can prepare you for a state tournament kind of game. Because prime example for your program, right? Being in Class M, you've got the Holy Crosses, you've got Daniel Hand, Rockville. If you had to play, let's say Rockville or Daniel Hand, you're going either up to, I don't want to say Boston, but like up in that area where Rockville is, or you're going down to Madison, which either way, it's either up there or down there. So either way,
Right.
you're kind of traveling pretty far. So it kind of does prepare you in some sense for the playoffs.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think it's awesome to be able to be a part of that. Coach, I was surprised when I was talking to your quarterback, who I call Sunshine because he's got the flow, Ben Roden, who I'll be seeing for basketball, and I'm looking forward to that with Coach Fitzpatrick and his crew. I was surprised with two things. One, when I asked him, and he was surprised too, that you guys like dropped from being double M last year to M this year. I was wondering maybe you could fill me in on that. And the second question is, when I asked him as far as what's it been like, and this was a couple weeks prior, so it was beginning of the season. He said he has not forgotten what happened in that Massa game. He said the kids that came back also have not forgotten, and they want to go out and show that the Tech League and Tech teams can compete. And I thought that was a very, very strong statement, especially because kids know they have phones, they hear the chatter, they see it, they read it. And it sounds like both Roden and the other players really took that to heart.
They did. They absolutely that was one of the things we had talked about at the end of that game last year was, like, preparation for next season doesn't start in July. It's got to start sooner. If we want to compete, we got to get on the same level. Hold on one second. Hey, it's wrong. Listen, I promise. Okay, well, you got to stop whining. All right. Daddy's got pool night tonight, so it's mommy's turn to take care of the 4-year-old.
There you go. That's always good.
Yeah, so where was I? Yeah, so that was something that we had strived for. Like, if we want to do better, we got to be better, we got to prepare more. That starts in the weight room, starts with a lot of additional training. Many of our kids are multi-sport athletes. And that's one of the things that, like, I personally was in high school and college as well. And I know that makes a world of difference in mental toughness and physicality, because you're going into different sports, but you're also having to approach the game differently, right? Like, much more cardio intensive in basketball. As opposed to if you're playing softball or baseball, now there's a very high skill set they need to possess in order to play. So I know they were definitely hungry and wanting to do that, especially since we are a very young team. And I told you to stop whining. I forgot what the other part of your question was. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. The first question just was, with the moving down in classes, were you surprised by that? Why was that?
A little bit, but not really. In other sports that I've coached, I know it's all based on enrollment. And there was one year where my softball team had moved up a division, and it was because of one more number female enrolled in school than what the threshold was. And then the next year it went back down. So they base it off of the previous school year's enrollments. So that that means that we more than likely were like right above that cusp to be a double M school. And I know there's a calculation for how they do the co-op, but it must have been very, very small to where it changed for this year.
Okay. I get, that does make a lot of sense. And I know, you mentioned the enrollment and all that. And, I thought there was a little bit of maybe, success, because I know what they do in basketball is when there is success in the tournament and such, that does increase and will move you up potentially because of what you had in the tournament. And I know that's a factor and such, you know.
Right. I remember it was like we had 175 girls somewhere around that number,
Mm,
and like the cutoff was like 173, and that determined whether you were an S or an M school for softball. So I know it's got to be something like that as well for this year. We were probably like a couple kids over,
mm,
um and there's parts of the state where more people are moving out of, and I'm sure a couple of our schools have felt that impact more
mm.
than others.
Yeah, I know it's been a big state thing as far as just the numbers of kids going to Connecticut schools has, dropped depending on what town you're in. Some have increased, but you know, again, it's just one of those things that people are moving and going as they go. You know what I mean?
Right, right. I like at one point I think Torrington, I think, and I only know that one because having taught up at Wilkes Tech for 6 years, but I know Torrington, even when I was in high school, I believe they used to be an L school, or
Yep.
they were much, much higher. Same thing with Housatonic. Uh, but that's, part with the enrollments, especially with the sport of football. That's why so many
Mhm.
teams have had to co-op because of that. You don't have the same type of numbers you used to have.
Mhm. And that's, I think, coach, speaking of the numbers, when you're grabbing from so many towns and schools, and I think the last time we spoke was last year. I know there was a couple of schools that had, a couple kids, but again, it was something where, okay, we're going to build, right? Has that number with some of the schools that we talked about, has that number increased? I know, again, I don't remember the schools, but I remember you telling me there was one or two kids from a couple of the schools from, the co-op.
Yeah. So Litchfield, yeah, Litchfield last year we had two players, and then this year we have four. So yeah,
Okay.
we doubled that number up. Um, great job, honey. Um, so that one doubled. Chapag has stayed the same. Um, around we have around five student athletes from there, and
Okay.
then same thing with Wamogo, around seven or eight, and then
Good.
the majority comes from between Wilkes Tech and Nonawag for that other half. But I mean, the hey, two more kids is 20% of an offensive line, right? Like it's 20% of your receiving core. That one is. All right. So it's still something. I know Wamogo and Litchfield are like that'll just be one school district. I don't remember if it's next year or the year after, but they're going to be Region 20.
Mhm.
So then it'll just be, four schools in our co-op.
Now, will that combination? Now, I can't see how it would hurt, but with those schools coming together, would that would that help as far because again, because of Wamogo and Litchfield, I don't know how the distance and traveling and all that transpires with the kids coming to the school of the host, to be able to come practice and so on. With those schools combining, does that kind of help things a little bit, especially in your case?
Um, I don't know if it will or not. I think it's going to stay the same. Those two schools are near each other as it is. I don't think I don't think it's going to have a major impact one way or the other. I just think from their standpoint, they're doing something that's going to benefit their districts as a whole, especially because both have been dealing with enrollment issues, and um, it's not. Yes, yes. um, so I don't think it'll play a major role. But it'll be one less school that has to be contacted, if you will. It'll just be I'll be contacting one person for the two of them, so that's okay.
That's a benefit, coach. Coach, I appreciate you
Yep.
coming out. This has been a lot of fun. Before I let you go really quick, the team being 5-0, obviously success from last year. It's carried over in the regular season. What's it been like as far because I'm sure the players, a lot of them were part of last year's team as well. So they've been a part of this success. They've seen now some of the alliance games and just the closeness that you guys have played over the last few games. What's it been like as far as what message have you been pushing with the talent that you have to make sure that they, don't get a little bit too big headed, right? Making sure they stay focused on the plan.
No, big message for them is that every week is our playoff game. We've got to approach it that way as such. And one of the fun things has been that it's been different players stepping up every week. I mean, we've Ben Roden's the foundation of our offense at QB1. But as far as, like go-to players when it comes to running or passing, it's been a different guy every week. Defensively, we've had similar with other kids stepping up. I know you had mentioned Derek Chung. Besides that last play of the game, their last touchdown, he defended a pass that could have been a 2-point conversion to tie the game. So he also had, he stopped that one as well. Our D line gave a good pass rush as well to help, but it's been very enjoyable to watch this group of young men come together and play for each other. Even when we were down in a couple of games, like the heads don't go down. They have no quit mentality. We're going to get it back here. We're going to get back there. It's just very encouraging to see early on in a season.
Coach, it's been awesome to be able to see the success of the program, and I hope that it does continue for you and the rest of the team. You do a great job, and as I've said, representing Watertown very well, H2O Town, as I like to call it. Coach, thanks again, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Great, thank you, Chris.
Always, I'll wrap things up in the CT Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm a jury, find them all. Enjoy the show, everybody, and be well.